What's up, everyone, and welcome back. You are watching another episode of Well-Rounded Individual. I'm your host, Adam Schindler. Guys, thank you all so much for being here. If you're watching this right now, please do me a favor, click that like, follow, or subscribe button below. Just helps me grow the show and continue to make it better. I have another amazing guest for you today. She is a traveling wedding and fashion photographer. She's based out of Pittsburgh, PA, but is a Las Vegas native. She has also been on quite the fitness journey over the last 6 to 7 years as well that we definitely want to dig into. Super happy to welcome to the show, Jezalyn Mallet. Welcome.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Excellent to have you here. I'm super happy that we could get you in studio because
Me too.
you're just by chance in Las Vegas for the holiday-ish, and you pop in every once in a while, but it's perfect timing to get you in here.
Yeah, it is so crazy. And we've known each other quite a while, so I feel like we always have these conversations, whether it's over coffee or when we're just catching up. So to be here on the podcast is really cool.
I know, it's nice. It's fun to have a conversation that we would normally have just like privately in a coffee shop, and just talking about different things.
Right.
is now going to be documented. So super
cool.
Yeah, it is. It is
It's
super
like,
cool.
I can actually listen back to that.
Yeah, for sure. And
Might be
you
good,
can
might be
kind of
bad.
listen back and be like, oh, that's interesting. Like it's different. Like I think you have a different perspective on like just like a one-on-one, and then watching it from like a third party outsider.
Right.
Just always kind of like a different perspective. Also kind of like lends a new like way of learning about yourself or about what you're talking about.
I think you also take in different things, because when you're sitting here having a conversation, you can say, after you look back, you think, oh, that was a really good conversation. I like the points that Adam brought out here.
Mm-hmm.
But then now to have it recorded, you can go back and say, wow, I didn't even pick that up.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, we have known each other for quite a while. I think I was like at the very beginning of your fitness journey before you became an entrepreneur and a traveling photographer and everything like
crazy.
that. We met at like 4:45 a.m.
Yeah.
On maybe it was a Monday. It was during the week, 4:45 a.m. at a 5 a.m. Orange
OTF
Theory class.
Yeah. It was crazy.
That's hilarious.
Get up at horrible hours, which I still do on my own time now. But I remember going to OTF, and that was the first class that I had taken that was a group fitness class. So I would say I'd always been not super fit or not super into fitness, but always was outside or doing things or was in and out of the gym, messed around with weightlifting here and there. But then I got really sick, and so I gained all this weight and thought, I guess, maybe doing something that's cardio heavy and has weights incorporated would help me out.
Right. And it absolutely did. What was that, 2018? I think it was 2018. You were only 18 years old at the time. Or
I was
20 maybe.
Yeah, I was somewhere around there. It was
young.
like late teens, early 20s. So definitely close to that.
Yeah, and it was funny because you and your husband did the class at the same time. So I met both of you at the same time.
He was like, this is horrible. All this running is not for me.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
he went a couple times, so it was fun.
Yeah, that is fun. And we'll dig back into that a little bit later as well. We can talk about so many different things, but I kind of just want to talk about like first, I want to ask you the first question, the well-rounded individual question that everyone gets asked on this show, with the name being well-rounded individual. What's that mean to you? What are some characteristics or some attributes to a person that you would say is a well-rounded individual?
Yeah, this was a anticipated question. I thought about it, and the things that always came to mind were these different areas of life. Where's your mental health at? Where's your physical health at? What do your relationships look like, whether those are friendships or your romantic relationships? What does your relationships look like in the community? And what does your spiritual life look like? And all those things encompass a well-rounded individual. If someone is, let's say, really successful in the business world, but they have no relationship with their children, they have no relationship in the community, I mean, what does it all matter?
Right.
So to have someone who can give enough attention to each individual aspect of their life, I think that's a well-rounded individual.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's the thing too, is like, a lot of times I like to get people's perspectives on this because when you can think about the question, the question's coming,
Mhm.
you have like a more introspective look at it. But a lot of times, like surface level, well-rounded is just like a list of accolades
Yeah.
for most people. But I like that most of my guests look more internally
Mhm.
and think about like not just like your list of attributes, because obviously that does like add to, a person and, who they are and what they are.
Right.
But then really think about like, are you happy on the inside?
Yeah.
How do you treat others? Do you make them happy? Is
Mhm.
walking into a room, are people like, yes? Are people filled up when you walk into a room, or are they, oh God, that guy?
I wish this person would
Yeah.
leave.
Great.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm about
exactly.
to make my exit soon now. Yeah, so cool. That's awesome. So I love that answer. And I think you encompass that well.
Thank you.
And being able to like really think about like all angles.
And I think it's not necessarily an easy task, because when you look at to be able to say, hey, I'm spinning all these plates really well,
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily, am I doing all these things really well? I think it depends on the season. Some seasons, everything's going amazing. And some seasons, you have plates that are falling and breaking. And you have some relationships that you're finding out, oh, this is really not good for me. Or you have other seasons of life where maybe your marriage is in turmoil, or maybe you're not doing good financially. Maybe your spiritual life, you're really questioning what you believe in. And that's totally okay. But without questioning and having those down times, then we wouldn't be able to appreciate the really good times and the ups and the positives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that too. Like without the rain, no one would appreciate the sun.
There's no flowers.
Right. And I think about that too. I was actually talking to someone last night. I was like, man, like for some reason, like I had a long day and I worked out really hard and like I just like did all these things. And then I drank a coffee at like 6 p.m. because I was like, I'm going to like do some work.
Always a bad
and
idea.
Then, yeah. And so like it came to like 10:30 and like I was just like, my body was exhausted. I was thinking about Thanksgiving and then Christmas and then all these things that I have upcoming. And then like, what are my plans for the new year? And I need to grow my business. And like, I started to get in this flood of like thoughts and emotions. And am I doing enough? Am I good enough? And like all these things like within my head. This is last night. And then I was like, am I okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I started to like think myself into anxiety.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, like, but I've done that enough times to where like I understand what it is and I understand that I'm doing it to myself. So like I'm like, all right, like I need to chill out. Like
just take a breather. I'm doing great.
Yeah, everything's okay. And then eventually like you lay down, you calm down. And I was talking to my friend, she's like just lay down. Like lay down, turn off the lights. I bet you'll feel better.
Just focus, take a breather.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy how much too I find myself getting anxious or really worried about things that need to be done or things that I have to do in the business or for my health or all these different things when I don't take enough time that day to be grateful for even the smallest things, because you can say, oh man, traffic's really bad, but maybe I'm stuck in this traffic because I missed an accident or whatever, it's raining outside. Well, at least we have rain, because without the rain, our flowers wouldn't be growing. Little things like that, because sometimes we just don't think about it, or thank you for the food on our table and things like that. So being grateful when I take enough time each day to go over a list of things, even down to the smallest things like, oh, I'm awake today. Then I realize I have a lot less anxiety and I have a lot more patience for other people too.
Wow, that's a really good point. I've thought about that before, but I definitely wasn't thinking about that last night. I was thinking about all the things that I wasn't and that I didn't have. I was coming from such a place of like
a need.
Yeah, a need and just like a famine mentality of like, I need more, but it's abundance. Like I have all these great things in life. And that's how we all should see like all the good things that we have and all the abundance that you have and all the things that make you happy, because we all have things to be grateful for. And when you focus on those, anxiety stays away.
Yep.
Well, maybe not forever, but it's a good blocker.
At least it feels as if it lasts a lot less.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk a bit about your business, right? So you grew up in Vegas up until the pandemic, or around-ish, and then you guys moved to PA.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we moved in 2020, and we've been here our whole life, my husband and I. It was September of 2020, my grandparents called, and they said, hey, we're getting rid of all these rental properties. If you guys want to come try it out, live here, and then that way, if you hate it, you can move somewhere else. You're not tied down to a lease. And so we just thought, hey, what the hell? We'll go try it out. We packed up all of our stuff. We're living in a 1-bedroom condo here in Summerlin, and it was great, but we had always lived in the city. So we decided, let's just try it out. Mm-hmm. Worst that could happen is we hate it and we move somewhere else. So we decided to do that, and we've been there since 2020.
That's what a change, right? Like,
it was a huge culture shock.
Because it's not Pittsburgh. It's outside of Pittsburgh.
Yes. We're about... I would say 40 minutes southeast of Pittsburgh.
Okay, so towards Morgantown.
Yep. Yeah, not too far from Morgantown, in a small little area. Mm-hmm. Our backyard is all woods, and I mean, we could hunt off of our deck, so it's pretty wild.
That's so we basically traded places.
Yeah.
Because that's where the first 18 years of my life, I grew up.
You're in West Virginia.
In West Virginia, yeah. And I was thinking about this on the way here. I was like, I know just in my family, I can't even tell you all how many people went to WVU. It would take me forever. Like everyone I know either went there or graduated there or lives there. My best friend still lives in Morgantown to this day. He's out on Cheat Lake all the time on his jet ski. So I'm very familiar with the area. So big change. Mm-hmm. What do you like? And because you did have family there and you had an opportunity real estate wise, like with, a place that your grandparents were getting rid of, et cetera, et cetera. So that was the reasoning.
Yeah, that was the reasoning, and just wanting to experience more of life, get away from the city. There's something about being in the city at that time for us was very loud. We had things going on relationally that we wanted to work on. So we figured, why don't we just change the scenery, change the pace? Mm-hmm. We also didn't feel a big community sense at the time while we were here. Mm-hmm. And not to say that that is the case for everybody. I think it's just where we were at that
in life.
Yeah, that's where we were at life. We just didn't feel like we had a strong sense of community. We didn't have a strong base of friends where we were when we were here. And so we moved there looking for a change and wanting to really work on our marriage as well. And so that's a lot of things that we moved out there looking for happened while we were there, which is really nice. Not to say that we'll stay there forever. We always contemplate we're going to go back out west, but more so Montana or Wyoming or something like that. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite part? So moving from the city, now you live in, it's not like the middle of nowhere, but it's definitely not Vegas. It's definitely not a city.
Right.
What would you say is your favorite part about that transition, and what do you miss the most about the convenience of Las Vegas?
Oh, the number one thing I will always tell people that I miss the most is the food. Moving from here to there, we don't eat out ever. So that's the one thing we definitely miss the most about Vegas. Otherwise, a lot of the other, and that in the mountains, it's something that we didn't appreciate when we were here. Mm-hmm. And now that we're in photography and just coming home every single time, I look at the scenery and I think about all the hiking that you can do in the mountains, and we miss it a lot.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't miss the traffic or anything like that. But the biggest thing that was really nice to move there was having a sense of community and finding a church that we had been looking for since we got married, a church that was not just all show, a church that we actually went to, and we felt that we were a part of it, that they had our same value systems, and they were actually, for us specifically, they were a non-denominational Christian church that actually read from the Bible, and it wasn't going to church on Sunday. They would read one line and give you a pep talk for the week and then go about your day. I don't need a pep talk. What I want to know is I'm here to learn more. Yeah. So to go to church and have in-depth teaching on it was really great. So you're
looking at more scripture, more biblical teachings.
Yeah.
Than maybe a relational, taking the Bible and then relating it to modern day, what's going on and how can you use that in real life type thing.
Which I would say they do that. What I was more referring to is we've been to many churches that will say, here's the one scripture, and I'm actually just going to give you a nice pep talk for your week that almost has nothing to do with that. It's just, we're a church, so we have to pull something from the Bible. So to go there and then also find a sense of community, not just within the church, but within the industry that we're a part of now, since we're in the wedding industry. And just at this point, we have so many friends, we don't know what to do with all of them.
That's
which
good.
Is a huge blessing. It's crazy.
Well, that's really good. And I feel like that really speaks to the correctness of the decision that you made, because you went to a way less populated area, but created this community that you couldn't find with all these people out here. Right. So you did the right thing. At least in the moment and in the time.
Right. And that's not to say someone can't do that here. I think whatever you're looking for, you'll find it. So if we really wanted a community here, I know that that's possible. Just a lot of people find it here.
Yeah, people find it all the time. But
just like you.
Yeah, it's really...
Small town to a big city.
Yeah, exactly. So your business. You guys, when you first moved, so it's 2020... You're now entrepreneurs in photography, filmography as well.
Yeah, Noah's getting into film now.
And so you do weddings, you do fashion, and I've done a shoot with you before, which was amazing. You did for those people who've ever seen the photos of my son and I on my Instagram at Red Rock last year, Jezalyn's the one who did it. And it was the work that you did was so good.
Thank you.
And it was so quick too. You did you captured everything that you needed to, with my Maniac and just the right amount of time. And it came out way better than I could have imagined. So
family sessions are so fun. I know a lot of parents, they get very anxious about it. They're I'm so sorry for my children. And as long as you go into it, for Noah and I, we photograph very authentically. We just want to capture essentially a memory. So however you guys are during your session, we want to just create that, and maybe we'll give you some prompts hey, run around, chase each other around, or pick up your kid and throw them in the air. That just creates photos that you're actually going to look back on and really love, as opposed to going to JCPenney and you're looking at a posed photo of your crying child.
Stand still. Everyone smile.
It's I can't even stand still. How are you going to get a 5-year-old to stand still? It's not going to happen. So just coming down to that level and being able to do that, we love it.
Well, what I think is really impressive about it is that you only started it the beginning of 2023, correct? So it's less than 2 years old.
Yeah.
But you are, you just came here from Florida, correct? In which you were booked, traveled to Florida to film or to shoot a wedding.
Photograph a wedding.
And then came to Vegas from Florida, correct?
Yeah.
And how did they find you? Those are people that you don't know, correct?
Yeah, so a lot of our clients are people now that we don't know. A lot of them are word of mouth. They're either word of mouth from friends, people either are friends, people that we photographed before, or even from other photographers who are already booked, and that client is looking for a photographer. And we've just created such a relationship within the community that they'll say, hey, is anybody available for this date? And they'll send out the referrals. And then the client gets to decide who they want to go with based on budget and, who they most like.
Well, that's super cool though, that like,
Yeah.
I mean, you're still, in the infancy of your business, but
Mhm.
you're creating, and the word I really liked that you used was relationships.
Yep.
You're creating and building these relationships with people that build trust. It's quality.
Mhm.
They understand that you're there, that the work that you do is authentic,
Yeah.
and you know that's a great way. Word of mouth, that's the only way to get good word of mouth references, is to be
Mhm.
that way.
And I
So it
think
speaks to the quality of the work that you're doing.
right. It also allows us to, I mean, knock on wood, we haven't had any bad clients yet, but it also allows us to have really great clients because they're people who, not to say we're most like them, but these are clients who we find ourselves being friends with
Mhm.
because we're attracting the people who have our same value system or who are into similar things that we are, maybe even have similar personalities. And so to be able to photograph people like that and then create a long lasting relationship. I mean, we have console calls prior to booking anybody. We are not doing this for the money
Mhm.
because it's not worth it. It's
Right.
not worth it to just book somebody for, let's say a session is $500. Okay, so what? I book you for $500, but you're a headache client. We don't see eye to eye. You don't like our editing. We don't get along. And then I'm going to try and capture you in a happy state or an intimate state with your spouse. It's just going to make my job way harder. And it's going to make you not really enjoy the photos as much.
Right.
So we always choose the relationship
Yeah.
over, oh, it's a quick buck.
Right.
It's not. It's not worth it.
Yeah. And when you start doing things for money, I mean,
It goes downhill very fast. I
that's a
think.
quick way to understand and recognize that you're not doing it for the right
Mhm.
reasons. Because you can do anything for money,
Right.
but something that you love, something that's your business, something that's your passion, you should be doing it for the reasons that you stated earlier, to build
Mhm.
relationships and to create art
Yeah.
and something beautiful. I think about that too, because a lot of times people ask me like, "Are you taking new clients?" Stuff like that. I'm like, maybe.
Depends on the client.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like
Who's
it
asking?
depends because
Yeah.
when I also work with people that I truly care about
Right.
and that I truly love, and like people who have like started as like a business relationship, but like become more like family to me
Mhm.
here. Then you know, obviously we still have that business relationship because that's how it started, and we're still going down that road.
Right.
But it's evolved into something that like I really care about them. I really enjoy. I don't have a single client that comes into like that I'm like see them on my schedule. I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? Like
Dang it.
every
I hope they
time,
call out
yeah,
sick.
every single person that I deal with and that I train with, I'm like, yes, like I get to like talk to this person today, or like put them, or like just like get to see what happened in their life, or
Yeah.
like put them through a workout, or like continue to build like their progress and stuff like that. And people, I know people who are burning the candle at both ends, and they're probably making more money than I am,
Yeah.
but
But is it
I'm
worth it?
happy. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
and I talk to them, they're like, oh my God, like I don't have a break today, and this and this and this. And I'm like, phew, man, like, couldn't be me.
Yeah.
Like, I like working hard, obviously, but I don't want to I would rather not do an hour session with someone who's going to be a pain in my ass and like do something for myself instead,
Yeah.
you know? Um, and I know that these people all have like good intentions, but there's just something that I don't know if it's like when it clicks, or if it ever clicks for some people, when you just like draw the line. You're like, oh, like I don't care that much about making set amount of money today.
Mhm.
The quality of my life and the value of my life today isn't going to be based on like the dollar amount I bring in,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
like the value in the quality of my life today.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not always dollar signs that
No.
increase your value.
Absolutely not. And you see people who are so wealthy, they hate their life. I mean, on the other side of that, you see people who are so poor who hate their life. So it's finding that medium balance of, yes, you can be smart and you can make money to where you create a life that's wealthy for you based on your value system. Like, what does your individual wealth look like? What does that lifestyle look like to you? Is it time with your family? Is it going on so many trips a year? Is it being able to give to certain organizations? How much time do you want to have at home? How much time do you want to have with your family? Just all those different things. How much time and money do you want to be able to put towards your, extra activities aside from work? But then also trying to find a job where you can actually give value to other people too. I think that was the biggest thing, because I was in a job before that I hated and I was giving zero value to people.
Was this in PA or back here?
This was before photography.
Okay.
So most of my working career prior to photography was in medical billing. And it was a life-sucking job. I don't know how people do it for 40 plus years. It's insane to me. I mean, I know how they do it. They just turn the switch off. They just show up, they do their job. And in 2020, when we moved, we were still doing that job. Noah and I actually worked for the same company. And this is all basically going into how we got into photography. I had been working with a company here in Vegas. I ran their medical billing department. I helped them start it since it was nothing. I was their first employee, helped them build it up. And then I ran the medical billing department that they had, created SOPs and all these different things. That, I think the owners just got so stressed. It got to a point where they were starting to not value me as much. They were starting to not value the rest of the team as well. And I had a lot of work on my hands. And at this point, they were gracious enough to allow us to keep our jobs when we moved, which was really nice. But as we moved, it seemed, because we were not in person and we were remote, that there was a little communication that was a little less communication than what was needed. And so things slowly kind of spiraled down. And Noah and I were doing so many, I was probably doing 3 or 4 people's jobs. And I'm one person. They'd say, hey, we need this by this date. And we need this. I said, this is impossible to do all this work. I can get a lot of this done to you, but just know I can't do these small tasks you're asking me to do, but also give you these huge reports that you want that are accurate. And so eventually it got to the point where Noah and I quit. I think we quit in 21. And I found another job with a company in Pittsburgh. It's a pretty big insurance company. Insurance company. And I did the medical billing there. But now I'm not in management. I'm making the most money I've ever made. I didn't have to leave my house. I didn't have to drive to Pittsburgh, which was amazing. I got to stay home and work. It was Monday through Friday, but I wasn't actually remote. I was stuck in my office at home. So if it was a nice day outside, so I'm inside 8-9 hours a day. And I got to a point at this job where I felt like I was supposed to be grateful for it. But I would wake up every day and I was so sad. I would wake up and I'd think, is it Friday yet? Can just tell me it's Friday. Tell me I can take a day off. And that was not a place that I ever wanted to be at. And I just knew from how I was feeling that I needed to find something else. And Noah and I would have conversations. I'd just say, I need something else. And I would fill out other applications for all these other jobs and nothing ever got back to me. And so that kind of went into morphing into us modeling, which got us into photography, which is so crazy. The story is all over the place. But
so when you're looking for these new jobs, you're like,
anything.
Let's try anything. So like
anything.
You're like, let's
I
do
don't
modeling.
care.
So then you start modeling like as a couple?
Yeah, but this wasn't even for a job per se, off of Indeed. When I say I was applying for jobs, I was applying for jobs that were on Indeed and their random stuff. Oh, we need an office manager for this or whatever fit my credentials. I was applying. And when we first moved, I looked for a photographer to take in-home photos since we had just moved into our house and we wanted to do Christmas pictures. Well, that ended up falling through. And I did keep in touch with a photographer though, and she posted a thing that said, "Hey, I'm looking for a couple to just do this fun creative sesh for me. It's for free because it's something that I wanted to do, and it was a skateboard session." So I message her and I say, "Oh, Noah and I skateboard." She said, "Oh, great, we'll do the session." So we end up doing the session and we keep in contact with her, really loved our photos. A year goes by. So now we're in 22 and she says, she posts this thing and she said, "Hey, looking for another couple to model this wedding dress. I want to do an elopement styled photo shoot." And I said, "Hey, I'm the size dress. I'd love to do it." And so we end up doing that too. And when Noah and I got married, we don't actually have wedding photos. We never had a wedding. We just went to the courthouse, got eloped in normal everyday clothes. So that was really special to me. I'd never worn an extravagant gown like that. It was really pretty. And I just told Hannah, I said, "Please tell me people would pay me to just dress up and look pretty and Noah and I could do this paid." She said, "Yeah, they would." I said, "No way, you're being serious." She said, "Yeah, there are couple models out there and photographers will pay them to model for their shoots to build their portfolio." And I said, "Oh, I'll definitely try that out then." So I kind of contemplated a little bit and I decided to create an Instagram page. And from the first day that I made it, we had an inquiry for a photographer who is doing a content day. So there's multiple different sessions. And she said, "Hey, I had a friend who used you guys. I would really love to use you too. What are your rates?" And I just said, "What's your budget?" And she said, "This is what it is." Okay, so we'll do that. So from there, we started modeling for photographers, which was really cool. And over the course of those couple months, this was probably June of 22, I start making a lot of relationships with all these photographers. And then I ended up making a connection with a photographer based out of Chicago because she had posted something about these couples who are modeling need to understand how important it is to stick to your word and show up because you're getting paid. So she was really heavy in creating these content days, but in different states. So you would pay so much money as a photographer and you would show up to this retreat weekend and there would be multiple couples sessions set up, whatever style it was based on the board. And a lot of photographers do that to build their portfolio. So you would go and shoot these high-end sessions and then look like you did this wedding. And that would help you book that kind of clientele.
Actual weddings.
Yeah. So that'll help you book actual clientele. And she was just going on about how couples don't value working in this industry like that, like the couple models. And so her and I started to create a relationship because I just told her this is why Noah and I create contracts. This is why we send invoices. We also help on the creative aspect. We ask, is there anything that you guys need help with? What's the vibe of the session? What are you thinking? We work on our own posing. We come very prepared prior to the session so that if people are just standing around and there's blank time, then we'll help you out and we'll do our own posing. And then we became friends from that. I was working one day and she said, "Busy season is so crazy right now. I just need someone to do all of my back end work or I need just a virtual assistant." And I jokingly, but seriously said, "I'll work for you. Hire me and I'll quit my job today." And she said, "Oh, well, what would you charge?" I said, "Just match my hourly rate. That's totally fine." And she said, "Okay, done." So Noah and I talked it over and there was some concerns because one, I wasn't going to be working for a corporation anymore. It wasn't going to be every 2-week paycheck. It wasn't going to be guaranteed. I'm working for a sole proprietor, not a huge company. So, I mean, if she could fire me at any time because she doesn't have the money to pay me, or what if she doesn't pay me? And now all the benefits are out the window, all those things. And I said, "You know what? True." And we decided the worst thing that could happen is I get another job. So whatever. So I decided to do that. And this was in September of 22. end of September, I learned all the back end stuff of the business. I learned how to use a CRM system, send out contracts, create invoices, make sure that the clients were paying, they were signing their contracts, doing client communication, sending out emails, what that looks like. Also, bookkeeping. So I learned all of the back end work before ever touching a camera. And then she got to a point where she said, "Hey, I'm so backed up on editing. I'm going to teach you how to edit photos." And I said, "Okay." So I learned how to edit photos because of that as well. And her style is completely different. It's very true to color. But going from that into then eventually getting into photography was just so crazy because this was never on our list of things to do. If you asked me, even before we moved, "Oh, you guys are gonna be wedding photographers," I tell you, I don't even use a camera. Like, I use my iPhone for pictures. What do you mean? And that year in 22, November, a friend had asked me, "Hey, her second photographer canceled last minute for a wedding." And usually in November, everybody is, most of the photographers are done for the season or they're already booked. So she said, "Hey, everybody's booked. You were my last resort. Will you please be my second photographer for this wedding?" And I said, "Anna, I've never even used a camera before. Like, I know you have to use it in manual. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. You're out of your mind." She said, "I trust you. It's fine." And I used her backup Canon camera, and we met for maybe 30 minutes. Everything that she told me went in one ear and out the other. I had no idea what she said during that time. And I show up to this wedding. I am profusely sweating before I even get there. I'm not even with her the first 2 or 3 hours of this wedding.
Yeah.
It's this because she had to be with the brides and bridesmaids at a different location, and I was supposed to do the groom and the groomsmen by myself. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I walk up to the hotel room, and of course, it's the last one at the end of the hall. It's November. It's freezing outside, downtown Pittsburgh. I don't even know where I'm going down there. I'm bundled up, and I walk up to the door, and I just knock on it. And I'm like, "This is going to be fine. I'm going to take a deep breath." He opens the door, and the groom goes, "Oh, you're the photographer." I said, "Yep, that's me." She leaves all of her extra camera body on the table, and I'm trying to make small talk while also trying to make it look like I know what I'm doing. I put everything together, and I'm taking pictures. The pictures are coming out black. Like, there's nothing on the screen. And I finally called her.
The lid was on?
And no, the camera was on. It's just the manual settings were not right. So I finally call her, and she goes, "Oh, you need to bump up your ISO," or whatever else that she said. And it's like, "Okay." And she said, "If it's too dark in the room, just use the flash." I said, "Okay." I put the flash on. Well, it's not firing. So I realized that they had a corner window. I just shoved all the guys in the corner window for natural light. I was like, "This looks great." And yeah, the first 2 hours of that wedding day I did it by myself. And finally I get to the church where they're going to have the ceremony, and everything was fine from there. We were together for the rest of the night. I get home. And also, I don't know if you know this, but for Pittsburgh weddings, they call it a Pittsburgh cookie table. And at every wedding, they'll have cake sometimes too, but it's a huge table of cookies. I've never seen it. I get there, I'm like, "What is this?" She goes, "Oh, it's a Pittsburgh cookie table. Like, every wedding has this." I said, "What? I've never seen this before in my life." She said, "Yeah, so you get a box, and they always have to-go boxes. So I got a box, and I packed that bad boy so heavy. I mean, I could barely close it, and I'm so excited. I get home. I stink. I'm sweaty. I have a huge box of cookies. I'm like, "Noah, look at this." This was just insane. I'm on cloud 9 because I just shot a whole 8-hour wedding. My feet are throbbing. And I told him, I go, "That's it. I'm a photographer." He goes, "Okay, you need to calm down." I said, "Nope, I'm a photographer. I can do this." And that's where it all started.
That's awesome. So how did you fix in the room? So it was the natural lighting, like it started coming out right, or were you able to like adjust the settings? What happened?
So I just ended up adjusting the settings, and what happened was the room is too dark. I opened up the windows, the blinds. I pulled them open as much as I could, and I just put him in front of the window so that I got a lot of natural lighting on him. But any other area in like the room. I wasn't able to get a good shot because it was so dark. And I couldn't get the flash to work because when you put the flash on the camera, you click it and that locks it and it sends the signal to the camera to be able to tell it how to fire. Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought I was just like, I put the sucker on and I'm moving it around and I go, how the hell is this gonna stay on? If I move, it's gonna fly off. Well, she fixed it when I got to the church because we had to use it. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. I was like, what do you want from me? I'm going from 0 to nothing in 2 hours. So yeah, it was a crazy experience.
Well, I mean, you're never ready, right? So
no,
what a way to learn.
It was the best way to learn.
Yeah. And you were in a position where I think it was better for you to learn that way. Yeah. Because you were all alone. And you encountered these obstacles that were like insurmountable on your own, like in the moment that you had to deal with, and you had to just like think on the fly.
It was
probably
so wild.
Everything beyond that was easy.
It was, well, I think over the last 2 years, the hard part was the technicalities of it, like making it become second nature to where I said, okay, this is what's happening in the photo. So this is the setting that I have to have. This is what the picture looks like now. So if the picture's too dark, am I going to open up my aperture or am I going to raise my ISO? Like little settings like that. And depending on how you want the picture to look and feel, then you would then determine what settings to fix. And yeah, I didn't learn any of that day of the wedding. After the fact, I still didn't know what I was doing. But what it did do was it instilled this deep belief in me, and it just ignited this fire that I thought, we can do this.
Yeah, that's it. I love that. I posted a thing today that said, he who thinks he can and those who think they can't are both probably right. Yeah.
There was this thing that I read that said, and it made me feel this way because I just went to New York Bridal Fashion Week in October and I was photographing really, really high-end brands. And this was something that was crazy to me because this is also another thing that I had never thought about before of even doing. I didn't think it was possible. It's not something that I would have tried to go to because if you asked me prior to that, I would have said my work is not good enough or I haven't been in the industry long enough, all these different things. And I ended up going, and the work that I had done from that trip was just crazy. It made me realize we're never ready for something. I think you just have to jump into it. You just have to do it, and then you'll figure out whether you like it or not, whether you're good at it or not, and then just go on and keep doing the work. And as long as you keep trying new things, then you'll know if you like it or not.
Yeah. That's awesome. And your story is one of like true, like sometimes it's necessity, but what you always did, like a common theme of like everything that you've done, like throughout the stories that you've been telling here today, is that you always took action.
Yeah, take the risk.
You didn't overanalyze anything. Maybe you did in the moment, but like you thought about it and you always took the risk for the big reward at the end.
Oh yeah.
But it's not like you just took a risk. You took a risk, then you took like
hard work
and action, like directed action towards fulfilling this goal.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of times, especially like anyone who wants to like start their own business or anything like that's one thing that you can't think yourself to success. You have to act yourself to success.
Yeah.
And taking that action is something that you've always done.
It kind of drives me crazy when I see people who will complain about a situation and they don't do anything about it. It's like, if you hate it so much, then why don't you do something about it? Yeah. Just do it. I read this thing the other day that said, there are people out there who are less qualified than you doing what you want to do simply because they believed in themselves. And I just felt that it was crazy to me because I felt like that was true about us. We don't have the best credentials for photo or for video. You ask us, we're still figuring it all out. we're still figuring out a lot of aspects of our business, still trying to make our client experience the best that it can be. All these different things, while also having all these plates of life, of everything else, of keeping a social life, keeping a healthy marriage, having a good faith walk. So you just have to take action. Just live every day, day by day, basically.
I love it.
Thanks.
And so let's backtrack a little bit now. I love listening. I'm so happy that I got to learn about like how that all started. But let's kind of backtrack to when you were still here, right? And so you got sick.
Yeah.
And you gained a bunch of weight. And then you're like, what was the catalyst? Like, so when I met you, right? So you were sick before that.
Yeah.
What was the catalyst to like make that decision? And then how did you change like that trajectory of I'm sick, I'm gaining weight, I don't like this.
Yeah.
How did you change it?
So I found out I had always been pretty active. I don't want to say I was the healthiest person. I wasn't super conscious about what I was eating, but I wasn't like someone who would super overindulge in a certain food or anything like that. We were always outside. I was fairly active, and this weight started piling on, and I didn't even realize it because it would seem like it was such a slow amount over a period of time. I ended up finding out that I had a benign tumor growing on my thyroid, and I had to get that taken out. So I got a thyroidectomy. Luckily, it left me with half of my thyroid. And when I went to the follow-up appointment, not with my ENT, but with my general doctor, he told me that he would be putting me on, what's that? It's the injection that's so popular today.
Ozempic?
Yeah. This is when Ozempic was first coming out. I think it was a trial run that the pharmacies were sending out to certain doctors. He said, I'm going to put you on this injection. You're going to inject yourself once a week, and you'll lose all this weight because you're morbidly obese. And I asked him, I said, well, I still have half my thyroid, right? He said, yes. So can I just change this with diet and exercise? He said, you could, but it's going to take a really long time. So I decided I wasn't going to take the medication because I've really never taken medication like that my entire life, never been on birth control, anything like that. And especially having the problems with my hormones that caused all the weight gain, I didn't want to be adding more hormones or more blockers into my body that I didn't need. So I just told him, okay, I'm not taking that. And I walked out of there. I never saw that doctor again. But from there, I decided now I really have to figure out what can I do to change because it's obviously my hormones that are not leveled out. So I went raw vegan for about a month, which was horrible. It was so horrible. I do not wish it on anybody. It was horrible. I went raw vegan for about a month just to reset my hormones because I thought, oh, well, there's hormones in meat and stuff like that. And I lost some weight from that. And then I slowly incorporated all the meats back in. About a month later, started really working out. But then I was just, I wasn't educated on what to work out, how to work out, what to eat, how to eat for my body type and for my medical needs. And from there, I started going to OTF. And that's when I met you. I think I started training with one of my friends and I started to really lose weight. And then ever since then, it's kind of been just this up and down cycle of losing a lot of weight, I was never skinny, but being thinner, and then gaining the weight and then coming back. And it's kind of crazy to see. Like now I'm definitely heavier set than I was even last year, but to see how well my body will hold the weight and to see, wow, I'm not like groggy though, and to know I can lose that weight pretty quickly because I know what I'm doing now.
Right.
So with just all the travel and everything, learning now how to incorporate that lifestyle and the working out after having such an intense wedding season and working pretty much 24/7 right now and learning that. So.
Okay. So it's about finding the balance now.
Yeah.
Right?
Now for me, it's about that.
So when you started to lose the weight and you started to feel good, did you start to feel like, okay, I figured it out. Like I understand like what my body needs in order to be healthy. And now I feel like probably less focus of like a number on the scale. I mean, obviously we weigh ourselves, but like if you're heavier or lighter, how you carry yourself and being healthy is what's most important. Right. So was there like a certain point where you're like, okay, I've got it. Like I understand how my body works, or is it still a work in progress? Or are you still figuring it out?
I will say that I figured it out, at least on the eating aspect of if I don't, for my body specifically, if I don't want to track everything, then carnivore is the way to go. That is the best diet. When I'm home, I opt to carnivore, and one, it's the easiest thing to eat on. It's the easiest thing. I literally have the quickest grocery shopping experience, and I don't really have to think about what I'm making for dinner or what I'm going to eat. It's really simple. So for me personally, my eating habits are mostly protein and fat when I'm home. And then if I'm home, like here visiting family, then it's a little more indulging. It's a little more eating of my family's ethnic foods and all that things, because how can you say no? But yeah, just on a day-to-day basis, I'd say working out at least 3 to 4 times a week. Now my workouts, I would say, are not as intense. I'm not lifting as heavy, but I'm focusing a lot on my mechanics. I'm focusing a lot on, okay, what's my mobility look like? What's my flexibility look like? How's my cardiovascular system doing? I don't have to lift as heavy as I was before. Now I'm just really focusing on how am I feeling every day.
And then you're doing cardio for your heart and not for weight loss.
Yeah, exactly.
This is something that like it's really hard to like
it's hard
get
to make
into
that
people's
switch.
heads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they think that they need to do cardio for fat loss, weight loss, but you know, cardio.
And sometimes it shoots you in the foot.
Yeah,
doing all that
for your
cardio.
heart and your brain.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to lose weight and have fat loss, it's all about what you put in, having lean muscle and what you put in your mouth. I love that. And we've talked about carnivore many, many times. I am not currently a carnivore.
It's hard socially.
Yeah.
It's very hard socially and traveling.
Yeah.
Because I starve. If I'm trying to stick on carnivore when I'm traveling, if I do not pack my own burgers.
Yeah, that's what you have to do.
I'm hungry all the time. Because on that diet I'm eating, it could be anywhere from like 2,000 to 2,500 calories a day. And if I'm not getting that, it's tough.
Ravenous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did carnivore, like straight carnivore from...
You did it for a while.
Yeah, I did it from the beginning of April through July, I think.
Yeah.
Towards the end of July, I started incorporating like chips and salsa and stuff like that. Just a little bit. And you know what's crazy is like I was so used to like having only meat and fats that like when I first started, like I had to like really be careful of like what I was doing that day if I was gonna like eat like something that wasn't meat, because I was like, oh, like I might need the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like,
or you get so tight. Like the next day after a gym session, I would be, if I had carbs after being on the carnivore, I would be sore. I'd almost be a little bit lethargic the next day.
Because of like the inflammation?
Yeah. And my face blows up.
Yeah.
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 As soon as I wake up, I'm like, oh, yep, that's the carbs.
And, you know, I've really been contemplating going back and doing it again for like just a month to see like how my body adjusts. I have High Rocks in Anaheim next Saturday.
That sounds so fun.
I'll it is so
I want to train for one. Yeah. I keep thinking about, I'm like, I'm going to do one within the next year. I think it would be so fun.
There's one in DC in March.
I'm like, would I be ready in March?
Yeah, you can for sure do DC
it's
in
the
March.
running, I think, that would kill me.
Yeah. Well, it's only a kilometer at a time. It is 8 kilometers total, but it's only a kilometer at a time.
Cardio.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them are.
Yeah.
If you do
like all
Tough
the exercises,
yeah,
are
but that
cardio
one,
based.
I would have to start training.
Yeah,
now.
you definitely should train for it. But like
think
March,
so
I think
fun.
even if you even just started at the beginning of the year,
And
it would be doable, especially if you did like if you did like a team, like if you and Noah both did it,
break it up, right?
You
so how does the team work?
So how the team works is like you go, I go. So there's mixed doubles, there's female doubles, and there's male doubles.
Nice.
So obviously mixed doubles, and there's 3 different weight settings. So there's the women's weights, there's the men's weights, and the pro women do the men's weights. And then there's pro men's weights, which are obviously the heaviest.
Yeah.
So when you have mixed doubles, so let's say for instance, you and Noah did it together, you guys would use the men's weight, right? Just because like it's you go, I go. So you would have to do like pro women's weights. But if you did a female partner, you guys could do women's weights. So what I mean by you go, I go is you both have to run all 8 kilometers, and you have to stay together too. So you have to pick someone that's like either going to be around your speed or like be cool enough to like stay with you, right?
Yeah, because he's way faster than me.
Yeah. So, but the you go, I go thing means like basically like, let's say for instance, you did ski erg and you and I were partners, and I'm really good at ski erg, but I could do potentially the whole 1,000 meters and then we just run off together, or we could split it 5 and 5. Or if you're with someone that's pretty good, but like you guys, but they need a break too, you can do 7 and 3, right? So that's why it's called you go, I go. Like for instance, like when you're pushing the sled, if you just can't push it anymore, you hop back and I push type thing. So it takes a little bit of the workload off of like the exercises, but you still do have to run all 8 kilometers and you have to run it together.
That'd be pretty sweet though.
So it's fun.
Yeah.
Like it makes it more fun, especially for someone who's like worried about like the singles is pretty tough because it's like you're an island. You're by yourself and everyone's trying to just like crush each other. Yeah. And you're working next to somebody who's just trying to outdo you.
Right.
It's very competitive. But especially if like it's your first one and you're like, I want to get into this, but I need to train to get into it. Having a partner is a great way to do it.
You'll have to think about that.
Yeah.
I keep looking at them. I'm like, God, that looks so
They are so fun. I know. I'll tell you. Probably DC's the closest one to you.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple on the East Coast this spring. There's one in Miami. There's one in Atlanta. But DC is
the Chicago one that they had.
Yeah, they just had
really
Chicago.
Cool.
And Chicago seemed very fast because I have a friend who ran with us in Mexico City, then ran again the next week in Chicago. And there's 7,500 feet compared to sea level.
Yeah, it's
but
crazy.
He cut 16 minutes off of his time. He's a pro man, a male pro. But he cut 16 minutes off of his time, which is absolutely insane. When I saw it, I'm super proud of him. But I was like, oh my gosh, no wonder it was so hard. Because Mexico City was so hard. Like I literally like felt like I was wearing cinder blocks on my shoes. But yeah, so I have that coming up next week. But I'm thinking like at the beginning of the year, I get back into carnivore. Because I am doing Vegas on February 1st. But I think a full month of carnivore will get me like to where like I feel like if I cut out all carbs over the next week, I would feel tired. You know what I mean? Because it takes like 2 weeks to adjust.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I did it at the beginning of the year, I'll be good by February 1st.
And then by that month mark, you just feel, even before then, but I would say for other people trying it out, by the month mark, you feel invincible.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember I started it, the first week I felt like crap, but my workouts were insane.
Yeah.
After so many weeks on it.
Yeah, people think you're going to lose, and you do feel tired at first. You get a drag the first week or two, but after, I feel like it's like after the second week, I was like week 3 and week 4, I was just like,
yeah, exactly.
You know? But we've done an hour.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right? Wow. Well, it was super fun to have you here. I wish we could do more because I could.
We'll just have to do it next time.
Sit there and chat more about all this for even longer. But next time you guys are in town, we can do it 1-on-1, or if Noah is here as well, we'll have him hop in too. But let everyone know how they can contact you, what you do, where you do, everything that is Mallet photography, and how they can book you if they want you.
Yeah, so everybody can find us on Instagram at the Malays. It's TheMallets. And our online is themalays.com. So if you guys want to book us, that's where you can find us. We do mostly weddings, but also fashion photography, branding, family photos too.
Excellent. I love it. Well, thank you again for being here. And,
thanks for having me.
We'll do it again sometime soon. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you truly enjoyed this episode. Super fun to have Jezalyn here. And tune back in next week for another great episode. Have a great week.